GDP is a completely
No, it
normal and
hasn't.
healthy 3%.
You see.
You know, it's like people know
Why
this.
don't you try
and what I think is
immigration? Because that's in the news
interesting,
today, David.
Yeah.
Take that one up.
Well, I mean, ask me a question about it. What's the question?
Are we doing better under Joe Biden when it comes to illegal immigration than we were under Trump?
How do you define better?
Fewer.
People continue to cross over illegally as they have for, 100 years, 200 years?
So it's the same.
I think
It's the
that
same.
one of the funny things that has
That's not
happened is
honest.
that for months, I'm sorry, I think we're talking over each other.
No, I'm saying that's dishonest. You're saying don't trust the Republicans on their messaging, and you come on here and want to tell me that it's the same. Like they're just continuing.
No,
there's been no
ebbs and
increase.
flows. There have been periods of
A couple of months ago, we had 10,000 a day crossing the southern border.
Megyn Kelly and David Pakman got into a very heated debate here on multiple different issues, and Megyn Kelly absolutely destroys David Pakman. And the funny part is, this portion of the Megyn Kelly show, of this heated debate between Megyn Kelly and David Pakman, is actually posted on David Pakman's YouTube channel. So he thought that this moment, or this 45-minute segment that he posted here, actually made him look good. In my opinion, Megyn Kelly absolutely demolishes David Pakman here in a clip that David Pakman thought made him look like he came out on top. Anyway, let's get into this clip here of this heated debate between Megyn Kelly and David Pakman, where Megyn Kelly absolutely destroys Pakman live. Let's check this out.
Has gone the opposite way. So there's an incredible desperation. And I have to say, Hogan, this is not a personal attack in any way. You seem like a really nice guy. We don't know each other. There's almost an affirmative action with these Trump folks where if these were football coaches that had lost everything for a decade, Kayleigh McEnany wouldn't be on Fox News. We wouldn't be going to Hogan and saying, give us your state. They've lost everything. And somehow, through some kind of affirmative action, I guess we still hear from them, but they're desperate, Megyn, because this has gone sideways for a decade.
Oh, wait, what are you suggesting, David? That because the Republicans have had a rough couple of electoral cycles, everyone who is on Team Trump should just go underground? They shouldn't speak anymore,
No,
even though
by no
he's
means.
going to be the Republican nominee?
No, I'm glad to hear from Hogan, but there's a degree to which we would say, wait a second, how could his analysis, or it's not about Hogan, how could any of these analyses really accurately reflect reality when these are the analyses that lost them everything in 4 or 5 elections in a row? I would approach it with caution.
Go ahead, Hogan. What do you think of that?
Yeah. Okay. Let's unpack that. By that rationale, I guess we should never hear from Hillary Clinton again either, because she lost. Any Democrat who loses an election, you can't hear from them. Anybody who worked in a White House, worked in administration, shouldn't have a say-so in what's going on in this country. Of course, this is a battle between those who love America and those who hate America, because the positions of both parties they've been clearly articulated now for a long time. And so I think moving into 2024, as we kind of reset, and now we've lived under the failed policies of Joe Biden for the last 4 years, where Americans have been kicked in the teeth. They can't afford gas and groceries. Crimes are spiking all over their communities. Wars are breaking out all over the world. The southern borders bringing in,
that is very spot on, by the way. The fact that anybody can argue that progressives or liberals aren't the party that hate America is really just stupid. If you just break it down to what it actually is, like the fact that people like David Pakman can argue with Megyn Kelly and argue with this guy, I don't actually know. His name's Hogan Gidley. I don't actually know. I mean, he's obviously a former press secretary, but regardless, if you just look at what progressive and liberalism is versus conservatism, conservatives are trying to conserve what America was and currently is, trying to salvage what's left. Whereas progressives and liberals, like in its nature, they hate America. They hate what it is. They hate what it was. So they're trying to change it. They're trying to progress it. They're trying to, push it forward, make it something that it's not. And conservatives are trying to conserve what America is. It's so simple when you even just put it that way. But also, if you look at the actual actions that they take, liberals and left wingers, these woke left weirdos, people like David Pakman, they take every single chance that they get to be anti-America. They kneel for the national anthem. Anytime there's a war that breaks out, they always go, they always protest in favor of the country that is not America's ally, the country that is technically America's enemy. And I guess the Ukraine war and the Middle East war is another example of that, but especially the Middle East war. And I'm not someone who's I don't like the us funding either side of the Middle East war. I don't think we should be involved in it at all. So I'm not saying that I'm on one side or the other. I hope they both lose, honestly, but whenever the pro-Palestine protests, I guess you could call them, broke out over all these college campuses and stuff. It's all from left wingers. And it's not because they actually care about Palestine. It's because they hate America. And they use any chance they get to be anti-America. And that's only coming from one side. You know, there's one side that flies American flags everywhere, and there's one side that stomps on American flags and kneels during the national anthem. And I don't have to tell you which side is which, because one side clearly hates America, and it's David Pakman's side, and one side clearly loves America, and that's more the Megyn Kelly, Donald Trump, that's just the truth of it all. That it truly is just objective truth.
Fentanyl killing our American citizens, human trafficking, child smuggling, it's all up. I think the stark reality of the fact that we've got an upcoming election where these two men uniquely have a record, not as a governor saying, if you elect me, I promise I'll do this. I'm a senator. I did this for my state. Both of these folks were president. The records are stark. And the juxtaposition where we used to have to point back to Reagan, Megyn, you just played an incredible speech. Remember how good it was in the 80s? We can say we had record-setting success in record-setting time 3 years ago. It took one guy and his demented policies to tear us down this quickly. So this election, no question, is going to be significant for the future of America. But to say someone who lost an election or wasn't part of the winning team shouldn't have a say-so is so insane.
Go ahead, David.
Yeah, no, of course I'm not saying they shouldn't have a say-so. What I'm saying is at this point,
if you enjoy content like this, then make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
It seems clear the American people see through it, and the people who lost 5 elections in a row are not the ones I'd be listening to on policy. Now, with regard to a lot of the stuff that Hogan mentioned there, we can go but one by one or not. I mean, just to pick a couple of things, because there was a lot there. You know, on inflation, I mean, listen, groceries and gas, they were even cheaper under Obama. They were even cheaper under Bush and cheaper under Clinton. I mean, yes, there is inflation. We have not had a deflationary spiral, but inflation's at about 3% right now, which is what every serious economist says is the target. With regard to the record right now, unemployment, I mean, it's almost silly for me to do this because the American people know, but we've never had unemployment below 4%. We've never had unemployment below 4% for this long in 50 years, and it remains there. Wage growth has outpaced inflation. GDP is a completely normal and healthy 3%. You know, it's like people know this.
Why don't you try immigration? Because that's in the news today, David. Take that one up.
Well, I mean, ask me a question about it. What's the question?
Are we doing better under Joe Biden when it comes to illegal immigration than we were under Trump?
How do you define better?
Fewer.
People continue to cross over illegally as they have for, 100 years, 200 years?
So it's the same.
I think that one of the funny things that has happened
not honest.
is that for months, I'm sorry, I think we're talking over each other.
No, I'm saying that's dishonest. You're saying don't trust the Republicans on their messaging, and you come on here and want to tell me that it's the same. They're just continuing.
No,
there's been no increase.
There have been periods of
a couple of months ago we had 10,000 a day crossing the southern border. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think we're all talking over each other.
Now,
go ahead, David. The floor is yours. Wait, Hogan, I'll bring you in, but let me defend that. Go ahead, David.
Oh, okay. No, listen, I mean, based on the Border Patrol statistics, there have been times during the Biden administration where crossings have on average been below where they were under Trump.
And that's why this exact answer right here is why I will never give someone like David Pakman the benefit of the doubt. Sometimes he'll talk to people like he's talking to Megyn Kelly at the beginning of this. He'll talk to Dr. Phil, and he tricks you into thinking, because he's actually good at YouTube. He's good at speaking, and he's a good politician. Honestly, he is. He'll trick you into thinking that he is not being dishonest, that he's being good faith. And then whenever he's asked, he brings out these statistics on the economy. And then if you're listening to the beginning of this, you might think, oh, this David Pakman guy, he doesn't seem like the worst lefty of all time. He brings out these statistics about the economy, and he makes you start to think, oh, maybe the economy isn't as bad as Republicans are making it out to be. And then Megyn Kelly straight up asked him about the immigration question, and he won't even say that immigration has gotten worse under Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. He won't even admit that. So if David Pakman is going to be dishonest about that, you have to think, oh, he's probably dishonest about everything else too. He's not actually a good faith actor. He's a bad faith actor, and it just completely diminishes everything else that David Pakman has to say, every single other opinion that he holds. It's so sad to see all of these people, and it happens on both sides. You know, it happens on Megyn Kelly's side of the aisle, it happens on David Pakman's side of the aisle, but I think it happens on the left a whole lot more, where these people just become completely brainwashed and completely dishonest. and completely just consumed by the bipartisanship of this whole thing. And then they get asked about immigration, can't even give Megyn Kelly a straight up answer. Just David Pakman just lies coming out of his mouth. Oh yeah, it's been the same the whole time. Yeah, it's never been any different. Always been the same. Just blatant lies straight to Megyn Kelly's face.
At some points, they were above that. The funniest part to me about immigration is that now that Republicans themselves torpedoed the bill they wanted because Trump said, no, 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 I need something to run on. I need something to do. Biden puts in place this limitation, which, by the way, doesn't solve the reason people are trying to come here. We need more immigration judges. I'm glad Biden made this point. Now that he did it, they're still not happy. And they're saying, well, it's only for political reasons. Why do you think Trump wanted to do this? It's also for political reasons. So this seems like a political game to me, when the reality, Megyn, is we never permanently deal with DACA. We never permanently deal with the reasons people even want to come over here in the first place. It's a lame political football.
Wow. Okay, go ahead. It's fascinating to me for me here. I have to say, David, I appreciate you coming on the show, because we don't get a lot of progressives, and they know I don't really agree with them on most things. I don't know why not. I actually really, I appreciate you being here and saying, you know, the way you see these things and the way the left views these things, because it's actually educational.
Well, I don't know about the left, but listen, I'm on the left. Countries have a right to enforce immigration policy. If you're here illegally, of course, you're subject to deportation. I mean, I think that there's a caricaturizing that happens of the left on this issue. I'm an immigrant from Argentina. We came here legally. I'm now an American citizen. People still write to me and say, you should go back to Argentina. But listen, I don't want the left characterized as something that it isn't on this issue. You'll never hear me say a country doesn't have a right to enforce
dead to rights.
policy.
Otherwise, we'd have different policy. I mean, Hogan, you work for the Trump administration. The first thing that...
Yeah, it's wild, because as soon as Megyn Kelly asked the question about immigration to David Pakman, he immediately started to try to wiggle out of the question by saying, like, oh, number one, like, we're talking over each other, and stuff like that. But then David Pakman responds to the question with, what do you define as better? Whenever Megyn Kelly asked him, do you think immigration has been better under the Biden administration? He's like, what do you define as better? Obviously, dude, less illegal immigrants coming in, less laws being broken, dumbass. Obviously, that's what she's asking. What do you think? Like, but it honestly, you know what? I changed my mind on that. I actually think that David Pakman's question to Megyn Kelly there was a fair one, asking Megyn Kelly, what does she define as better for illegal immigration? Because it seems like the Democrats define better as in more illegals coming in. That seems to be their actual agenda, is to get more illegals coming in. So it's a fair question from David Pakman, considering that his entire party is basically focused on more illegal immigrants coming in rather than less. Whereas Megyn Kelly's party, or her side of the aisle at least, is focused on less illegal immigrants coming in, less laws being broken. Let me know in the comments, though, what you think about Megyn Kelly shutting down David Pakman in this pretty heated debate here between David Pakman, Megyn Kelly, and this other guy, Hogan Gidley, on the Megyn Kelly show. Let me know in the comments what you think about this whole Megyn Kelly versus David Pakman situation.